So I think you guys are pretty great. I think you guys are pretty great. What do you think about that? I think all you children and big children out there watching online, I think you guys are pretty great people. What does that make you feel when I say, I think you're great? It makes you happy, right? Because it means that I'm appreciating something about you. What is it that makes something great, though? God. Feeling the joy of what? Of greatness. Love. So if I were to ask Julian, do you think your sister is great? He's like, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer that one. It's a trick question. If you were to think your sister was great, which I think you probably do, what would you say? You know what makes her great to me? What would you say? Her toys. Her personality is great. And her enthusiasm. Is she really kind and loving too? She seems like that most of the time. Very playful. So those things make her great to you, right? Yeah. I think Shiloh gave one of the most important answers, which was, of course, God. So let's ask. We have a flag up here. We don't normally have the United States flag on chancel. I'm going to bring this over so we can all take a look at this. What makes anything great? Like, people want to say this is a great country, and I hope that a lot of countries around the world say, my country is great. Like if you were British or Swedish or Nigerian or Korean or wherever, I hope that those people would say, my country is great too. But what makes something great? Why would we say that America is a great country? Yeah? Good and respecting God. Yeah? Helping God to love each other. Very nice answer.
America great is that it's a free country and you can worship God however you please.
Right. So it's a free country, and so you can worship God however you please. That's a great answer. That is something that makes this country pretty great. We're going to read a story this morning where people kind of aren't sure what makes something great. And I'm hoping that you guys remember a bit of this story, maybe the beginning of it. Do you guys remember a man named Gideon? Well, I'll tell you the beginning of the story. So, the children of Israel were doing really naughty things, and it says that the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. And so they were given into the hands of the Midianites. So the Midianites were this big group of people, and they came in and they would steal all their crops. As soon as they would flower, they would come in and take all their corn and all of their wheat and take it away from them. And the children of Israel were frightened by them because they had no way to stand up to them. And so the Lord sent an angel to a man named Gideon and said, Gideon, you're going to help rescue the children of Israel. Now, if you were Gideon, do you think you would accept this and go, oh yeah, I'll just go over and talk to them and the Midianites will stop stealing our food? What do you think Gideon's thinking? He's thinking this is going to be a huge war in order to get them out of here. And so Gideon didn't quite believe that this was a message coming from God. Do you remember what he did then? Kind of had some questions. He wasn't sure whether it was a message that was coming from God, so he prayed to him and said, you know what, if it is really coming from you, if this message is coming from you, I want there to be dew all over the ground, but not on the mat that I put outside. So he had a sheepskin mat that he put down on the ground, and behold, in the morning he came out and there was dew all over the ground, but the mat was bone dry. So you'd think, oh, now I'll believe this is from God, right? He proved it. Gideon was still scared and wasn't sure if he could believe. So he said, how about we do this the other way around, and then I'll know for sure that it was you that helped. And so instead, he wanted just to have dew on the mat and none on the ground. And behold, in the morning he came out, and it's exactly what happened. So he started to believe that this message was from the Lord. Now remember, the Midianites had this huge army, and so he thinks that this is going to be a big, big battle. And so he gets together 32,000 people to fight. And this is where we're going to pick up our story, because it really shows what makes something great. This is from the book of Judges in chapter 7. Beginning at verse 1, it says, "Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all the people who were with him rose early and camped on the side of the well of Herod, so that the camp of the Midianites was on the north side of them, by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, 'The people that you have are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel claim glory for itself against me, saying, my own hand has saved me.'" What is the Lord saying there? The Lord's saying, if you have all these people, they're just going to think that we won by our own strength. But the Lord didn't want that in this circumstance. So he says, "Now therefore, proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, whoever is fearful and afraid, let him turn and depart at once from Mount Gilead. And 22,000 of the people returned, because they were afraid, and 10,000 remained. But the Lord said to Gideon, the people are still too many. Bring them down to the water, and I will test them there for you. Then it will be that whom I say to you, this one shall go with you, then the same shall go with you. And whomever I say to you, this one shall not go with you, the same shall not go." So he brought the people down to the water, and the Lord said to Gideon, "Everyone who laps the water with his tongue as a dog laps, you shall set apart by himself. Likewise, everyone who gets down on his knees to drink water." And the number of those who lapped, putting their hands to their mouth, was 300 men. But the rest of the people got down on their knees to drink water. So do you guys understand how this story goes? They brought down all these 10,000 people to the water, and the Lord said that the ones that go down and lap up water like a dog are the ones that are going to go with you. Everybody else is going to go home. The Lord said to Gideon, "By these 300 men who lapped, I will save you and deliver the Midianites into your hand. Let all the other people go, every man to his place." So this is kind of crazy. Only 300 people. Let's imagine that we aren't told how many Midianites there are. But imagine that there's 20,000 Midianites. How do you think 300 are going to fight? You think it would be automatic loss, right? Imagine if you were going up against 100 people by yourself. Would that be fair?
No.
It doesn't seem fair at all. And that's kind of what the Lord is setting up. It's like, there's no way you can beat 100 people by yourself. So continuing in verse 16, we'll read what happens in this story. "Then he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put a trumpet into every man's hand with empty pitchers and torches inside of the pitchers. And he said to them, 'Look at me and do likewise. Watch, and when I come to the edge of the camp, you shall do as I do. When I blow the trumpet, and all who are with me, then you will also blow the trumpets on every side of the whole camp, and say, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon.' So Gideon and the 300 men who were with him came to the outpost of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just as they had posted the watch. And they blew the trumpets and broke their pitchers that were in their hands. Then the 3 companies blew their trumpets and broke the pitchers. They held the torches in their left hands and the trumpets in their right hands for blowing. And they cried out, 'The sword of the Lord and of Gideon.' And every man stood in his place all around the camp, and the whole army ran and cried out and fled." So with just these 300 people, they were able to go and just make all of the Midianites just afraid and run away. And we learn later that there were actually angels that were there with the people, with the 300 men. So, what is this story talking about? Sometimes we think we have to do everything by ourselves and have all of the strength, and that's why he built up this huge army. I can go save the rest of the Israelites with this huge army. But the Lord said, no, or else you're going to think you did it yourself. We need to think about, what does that mean? The Lord's wanting us to recognize that what makes anything great, what makes anything possible, is when the Lord is with us. So what makes you great to me is what the Lord is in, or how the Lord is in you. Anything that comes from the Lord through you, that's what we're supposed to love in other people. It's all the things from the Lord in us. And it's the same thing with, say, our country. We're supposed to love our country for the good that comes from the Lord that is in it. That's what we're supposed to do, is love the Lord anywhere he is found. And not think of it's all us Americans. But what is from God in us Americans that makes our country great? That's what we need to focus on. Not just on our country, but in other people. What is from the Lord in that person that you can love? Amen. Okay, now please bow for a blessing on the children. The Lord give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. Amen.